a sip. Doing like they do in the commercials where you just stare off into the infinite and reflect on your life. You guys ever reflect on your life? I wouldn't recommend it. Coffee's perfect temperature to slurp out of the end of the cup. This is entertainment. If you're watching this, you've chosen it. Pat yourself on the back. You're cultured, and you know entertainment when you see it. Let's have a slurp together. That's good. Really taste the bean and the fire, the heat. It's basically all coffee is. Just a bean rolled in an oven until it's cooked up. Speaking of delicious beans, a cacao nib. When I took the money that Jammer so graciously bestowed upon me yesterday and turned it into a few items at the grocery store. Huh? I bought a candy bar that I saw there. It was a couple bucks, but it was delicious and well worth it. It was made with cacao nibs and such. Like a healthy. I've got the package if anyone's interested. I can't remember the name of it, but it had a hazelnut spread. Not Nutella, but akin to it. And it was very good. It wasn't overly sweet because they didn't like pour in the sugar. One of those bars that claim to be a bit healthy. A good choice. And as I don't eat candy bars very often, it drew me in by the packaging. The packaging was extremely cool. Biodegradable and all that shit. It wasn't made of concrete, iron, and turtle skeletons or anything like that. Like most, like a Snicker bar, basically. It's just made of ivory tusks and elephant foreskin. They just hammer it into a plastic, print on their label, and, you know, you guys just are complicit in the destruction of this sweet, vibrant world. To be fair, I think it's safe to say that all of you are tyrants. I know you're thinking, Patrick, how do I become not a tyrant? How do I counteract? How do I become carbon neutral in the tyrant department? And the rule number one is to buy my artwork. The generosity of purchasing culture yourself and hanging it in your room or gifting it to people that you love, yeah, will help you to be less of a tyrannical pile of shit. So think about that, folks, as you slurp down your baby otters and all the other shit that you ingest. Make you feel good about yourself. Tip the scales in your favor. Or not. And drink deep the cup of evil. It's a poison, though. And eventually it will kill you. Whether it be a physical death or a spiritual and reputational death, to where all look upon you as scum. And you're forever remembered in the infinite big pile of shit until people forget about you. It's tough. In other news, how are you doing, streamer? Are you doing well? I truly hope you're doing well. Let me bust open the stream labels. I wanted to see if Jammer overtook Terry for King in the North. And it does not look it. Not yet. Not this day. 20 hours ago. Someone followed me out of the blue. Fascinating. Who is it? Who knows? This music is chill as fuck. Maybe too chill. Has anyone got manifestations happening yet? Just wondering, just out of curiosity. Has the music manifest? Because it says you can manifest anything you desire. Do you think... No. I'm no guru of manifestation. And karma and chakras and such, but... Can you manifest something, right? When it pertains to another human? Now, I'm not saying this out of a curiosity, but if the manifestation were real, for a moment, let's pretend. Let's make believe, shall we? If manifestation is real, and you could utilize this weird energy to draw in things that you desire, like wealth, health, and such, could it be used to manifest love? Because it pertains to another person, right? Because it's whereas you could say maybe the world around you, right, is, let's say the energies of the world are a pool of water, and you're inside that pool of water along with many others or whatever. But this manifestation is your interaction with the water, making these waves or drawing in things, you know what I'm saying? To deal with another person, you could not manifest it solely. Like, maybe you could manifest, you could hold up your side of the manifestation bargain by drawing their attention slightly or something. But you couldn't, it wouldn't be free will if you could force someone into your life, you see. So the manifestation wouldn't work when it comes to love. Unless, of course, it was like we said before, more of a drawing in a passing glance, like having someone notice you, so to speak. Because after they notice you, that's there. It's the ball's in their court. They have to play ball with you, you know. You can call out into the darkness all day long, but until someone hears you and responds back, then there's no connection, you know. So I'm assuming that manifesting could not be really effectively done with love, right? What would you manifest, stream, if you're watching right now? Or if I clip this and put it on a YouTube or something, what would you manifest? I'm fascinated. You don't have, it doesn't have to be some kind of, oracle on a mountain beauty. Like, I want to manifest inner peace or some shit. Like, if you wanted to manifest anything and could manifest it, what would it be? Like, if you wanted to say manifest, I don't know how you would manifest things. I guess maybe I don't know the inner workings of this magic that they're referring to when it comes to manifestation. Can I manifest anything? Like, for instance, let me give you an example. Does the manifestation work just off things that are kind of easily attained? Like, you can't ask the universe for things that would be like 3 levels deep, say like love, I guess. Or say you wanted something very specific. To manifest a PlayStation, if you wanted a PlayStation, I'm just using PlayStation as an example, or a graphics card on your PC, one would say you could just manifest the money. But what if it's a hard to find item? Are you manifesting not only the wealth in which to obtain it, but are you manifesting the opportunity to obtain it as well? Because you can have all the money in the world, but I guess if you're willing to use that type of money, you could get you could just pay a person to kick a door in and take someone's place. You know what I'm saying? Like if it become too bad. But I'm talking merely on like a scale that would not be rough. Like, could I just manifest a PlayStation? Like, would it just find its way to me if I manifested it? Or would I have to, like the story, like that joke I did. There's a joke that I'd heard about a person always wanting to win the lottery and kept begging God, to give him the opportunity to win the lottery. But then he never bought the ticket. And then the joke is that the God comes down and says, buy the fucking ticket. I can't give you can't win the lottery if you don't have the means in which to do it, I wonder if it was like that, where you can only really manifest something if you were both working towards it while also trying to draw it in. You can't catch a fish unless your pole's in the water. That's another one of the old sayings. You gotta have your fishing pole in the water to catch a fish, right? So the idea there is that you can't find love if you're not out there trying to find it. You can't, accomplish your dreams if you're not trying to, you're not at your particular dreams area. Like streaming here. I couldn't be the next big streamer lest I'm streaming right now to you or to non-existent people. And then I'm talking about streaming. That is probably one of the roughest things you can't manifest. You got to be on these streets selling your ass to find the Johns, so to speak. The Johns being the people buying the sex. I was referring to a prostitution story. Yeah. I mean, why do physical prostitution when you can do digital prostitution? Oh, it's fucking great. Everybody's doing that. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not knocking it. And it's fucking work. I can only imagine. Me just being here talking on stream constantly is fun, but also very taxing. I mean, I could be masturbating right now. I could be making French baguettes, I could be holding hands and skipping stones or whatever. I don't know what the fuck I could be doing. There's a great amount of things I could be doing besides being here. Yet here I am, manifesting. Feels good. Can you inactively manifest? How does one manifest? That's a good question. We could look that up on YouTube. Because what I need to know is, can I just kind of sit it on the back burner, live my life, play my video games, be like, I said I wanted it, earlier, but do I have to actively sit on it, meditate with it? Do I have to continuously cast out the energies for the universe to hear it? Is the universe deaf? Do I have to yell at the universe? Is the infinite darkness of the void, is it deaf to whispers? Do you have to do something as like an active manifestation to call upon it? These are important things. You ask these questions about all sorts of shit to determine if they're worth a fuck. It's like a scientific query, if you would. It's what got me not religious anymore. Because my desire to learn more and the questioning of it started to make it blatantly apparent that it was a feel-good thing. And to be fair, it wasn't even that feel-good. For instance, it was a transference of different feelings. Say, in my youth I believed, and I traded I had to have great guilt about living a normal life, like masturbation or having feelings for someone or thinking about certain things, and then of course thinking less of other people, putting them in like little categories for their sexualities and stuff, But when I broke that chain and gave up that you know, oh, I'm forgiven. Oh, if I die, I'm going to go to Magic Land where there's ball pits and free nuggets and stuff like that. It wasn't even that. Those things aren't even present in the afterlife, which sucks. Like, at least the one with all the virgins, you get all the virgins, is kind of, I could see from a man's standpoint, or like a horn dog standpoint, being like a worthy goal. But at least it's a cool prize. Yeah. It's like a Chuck E. Cheese. So life is like a Chuck E. Cheese. We work hard, so very hard for these morality tickets, and then when we get to the pearly gates to turn them in, we get a slide whistle and the opportunity to sing praises to the deity that kicked us into the pit of sin and allowed us to suffer, tumble like a stone. Sorry, get off on the side. The point I'm trying to make is, when you break those chains, when you ask these questions, when you try to better understand something, you can determine if it's bullshit or not. I will say this, though, about manifestation, about crystal healing, so long as it doesn't get into the realm of keeping you from going to the doctor or something like that, or keeping you from doing what is correct. Like, say, I could eat 80-piece McNugget, but if I rub this onyx stone on my butthole, I'll be healed. You know, like that's where it becomes a problem. But if you think of rock school, or lighting an incense, closing your eyes and becoming more apparent on your breathing, you know, kind of taking yourself out of reality for a moment, if you would. Those are good. I've meditated. It's very fun. Although I have a lot of ADHD, it's real tough. Because I don't think you really have to empty your mind when you're doing the meditation. You just got to have a visual mantra. Like you have, some people have audible mantras that they'll say, but a mental one. Like I think of sometimes, I know I've mentioned this before, but if I were to meditate, I would think about like this great eye, purple and such. Very much like the eyeballs you would see, the Dark Moon Fair. If anyone's familiar with World of Warcraft, I would think about those staring at me as I was staring at it, like a studying of both, and you know, examining, thinking to myself. And that's, I guess, one thing that I can say. A little sidebar here. One thing I can say about art. Yesterday, for instance, the stippling and the painting, I mentioned that it was I can zone out into it. Like I can kind of get lost in that. It is creative, and it's also something that will just keep you focused on it. That is in itself like a meditation. So as you're studying something, you get a better understanding, I guess, just generally. It sounds very boring, like every human being should know that. But to be honest, I don't think we know it. And I was talking about Tony Robbins and why people could go and sit and have him tell you the same shit like I'm telling you here, but you pay him money, and he's got a little microphone, a little tiny microphone that hugs his cheek, and he's like clapping hands and talking about, oh, fucking you can suck 1,000 dicks, you can make $1,000 a day, you can, you know. They tell you these things because sometimes we can get lost in the present and not know what the fuck we're doing, and we think we got to hear the same stuff. And I would say, like, you just know, you know, like understanding. If you want to understand something, try to understand it. Focus it. You got to focus your studies sometimes. And that helps with little mini focuses like meditation, I would think, because it takes you out of the present here and now and the worries and puts you in a more breathing and just sitting. And that's good. It's like a little reset, if you would, a little break for your brain. Because even when you sleep, your mind works. You have dreams and all kinds of wild shit. Studying something. Even as an artist, I learned that long ago, because I know recently saw a TikTok or a reel, I can't remember which one, I think it was a reel, and they was talking about an artist, and someone said, you know, like the lady says, like, someone asked them, have you ever just looked at your dog, you know, and studied them? And I've even said this like years ago. I was talking about studying people's faces. Like, you look at people all the time, but you don't really study their face. Some people don't. but I used to. I remember sitting places like, not really staring at them because that would be obviously rude, but you know, like observing someone and like seeing like their nose and how their nose actually is shaped. Because as an artist, you have to draw stuff like that. But the point of the reel was, she was talking about, yes, I have looked at my dog in great detail because I've drawn it. I've painted them. As an artist, I have conditioned myself to look at things, to notice colors, to notice items of clothing like facial features, hair, something that most people don't. They just walk by and just subconsciously scan. And it's part of evolution that you don't really focus forever, and that's one of the, like the uncanny valley, or you don't like things that look like humans or weird stuff, because like you're so used to seeing faces and things, like easily scanning, discovering, and moving about your day, like a subconscious thing, like breathing. But to, you know, and you utilize that far too often, like you don't really stop and smell the roses visually, and it's good to do that. I know I've mentioned on this stream before about looking at trees. Like, have you ever just looked at a tree? Like, it's a fascinating thing. Like, you ever looked at it while also thinking about it? It's living, technically. It's not talking to us, but it's made of bark and trees and the leaves on it, and they change color and dye, and there's shifting of the seasons, and the roots grow into the earth, and that's how they draw nutrients. It's so wild. We see it all the time, but we don't really see it. I feel like, and everybody does it, because you can't literally live your life super ultra studying everything you see, but I would say even more so than meditation is to do that. You know? Do you like something? Study it. Look at it. Get to know it more. That's what anything really, but like oftentimes you may not get to know, you know, relatives or friends as much. Before, you know, to study and know someone, to know why people act. I think it's like an ultimate way to help with empathy. Sometimes I feel like our own survival, and especially now with the way the world works and the way it's kind of like a starvation, you know, we're constantly always trying to feed and clothe ourselves, which is the rules of humanity. That's even the basic things is to keep warm, stay full of food and water, and I guess fuck, which ultimately leads to a deep bond with some people, depending on your mindset when it comes to reproduction. But we just skim over a lot of stuff, and we don't really get to dive in. But it's good to dive in and study things sometimes. Not all things. Pick your poisons. Not everything needs unbelievable study. I think I lost my train of thought there, but ultimately came back to the major point, which is just existing. Existing in a way that you see fit. That's basically anything. Art, painting, drawing, music, poetry. I feel like if I could give any, and this is also for myself to take in, not just from a point of I'm no Tony Robbins. Of course, I don't think Tony Robbins is a Tony Robbins. I think he's a fucking grifter that tells you the shit you already kind of know, but apparently people pay for that. And if you pay for that, please PayPal me money. Cash App, PatrickJCreates. But I feel like if you could add one thing to your day. You could examine your day, decide one area in which you could pluck it out. I don't think you should hustle yourself into an early grave, but you should focus on something nice. Do you like poetry? Then read some. Dare I say, write your own. Because it will help you in ways that are far more powerful than you would know, because we live in a society where, yeah, you need to, I mean, one would argue that, I was about to say Netflix is shit, but it is a way of absorbing content and beauty and art, because there's artistry in television and movies for sure. But I will also say that Netflix, movies, TV have been, the well of their artistry, I think, maybe a touch poisoned by powerful, greedy hands. Like, everything can be poisoned. So if you could take less time, free yourself of the desires to know what the fuck Disney Plus is going on about, read a poem, write a poem, ingest some artwork, watch a stream from a human being existing, so long as they're existing in an honest way. That is far more beneficial to you, because it has a power when you absorb an art piece. Like, you get this feeling, you get an excitement, you get an understanding, you get, at least I do, when I see a movie that's not necessarily, you know, mainstream, something that had some artistry to it, something where thought was put in. That's why I get so disgusted when it comes to the She-Hulks, the Disney Pluses. I don't know why I particularly poked the She-Hulk bear, but like just general television, it becomes false. It seems phony, and I know it is false to begin with. It's fictional writing, but it seems even more shallow and empty. It doesn't feel the same as like a good movie that, you know, like, and it dare I sound pretentious, but it's not. It's not from a place of like pretentiousness. It's a desire to see a more complex beauty. Like, there's a feeling you get from watching something or seeing a piece of art or observing music. The music does it more so now than ever. Even music has its poisoned well when it comes to certain things, but there's a lot of music. Like, how often do you hear some on Spotify that really rattles your soul, but you don't hear it on the fucking radio? Like this, it shows you that's a tiny little bite of this feast that is true creativity and art. And to create yourself, to enjoy art in a way that isn't hellaciously poisoned by greed, is magnificent. It is in and of itself like this spiritual experience, because, you know, not to sound, you know, manifesty here, but we are all in this together. We look inside ourselves and you see one spoonful of our blood and there's countless DNA working together. And then you back out and you see the DNA forming flesh and brain cells, and then there's vocal cords working in tandem with your brain saying words. Like, you are just this metropolis of DNA working together. Even outside of yourself, there's probiotics, there's like bacteria in your intestines like that are helping you along the way. It's just this you yourself are a society of tiny microscopic things working together. And then you back out the microscope even further, we work together on this one planet as little DNA, and then the planets work together and galaxies is little DNA. So if you really do the real pan out, you think about that. It sounds trippy as fuck, but it is. Like, who knows? But I'm not saying we have to really complexly think about that, because there's no real way of understanding that fully. But what you can gain from that is we are, creativity. We're working together. We're sharing experiences and seeing true art, hearing true music, listening to true poetry. I think that's something that needs to be explored more, because you do have to eat and such. But I feel like the one problem that society has is that we have really fucking fucked up this idea of hustling yourself into an early grave. Like, do you want clothes? Well, you better buy these particular clothes. And most of the time, it's not like a piece of clothing that was like created by an artisan. Like if I were to make a shirt and hand sew the fabric and do it myself, like I could see where that would be worth more money because it was handcrafted. But these I said movies. These t-shirts and clothing aren't. Like Supremes and shit, they're all made with a screen printer, the same screen printing method as any other shirt that you bought. Any shirt at Walmart has the same screen printing technique as a Supreme shirt. Made in the same factory. It's so crazy that we have this unbelievable power to choose what is meaningful to us, and yet so many choose things that are absolutely meaningless. And that's not an opinion. I'm not speaking from a point of opinion, because there's a lot of things. Art itself, you may not like my artwork, but there's art that you will like. So, the opinion of my art and how it works with you, yeah, that's opinion. Subjective, you can like it or lump it. But the fact that a shirt made in the factory, in the same factories, not handcrafted, not hand-sewn, just because someone said it was great, you have to agree, that's fucking insanity, to be honest. I mean, a lot of us fill our days with Netflix and with video games and hell, with art at times, to remove ourselves from thinking like this, because it can be overly depressing. But I think it's important. That's what it goes back to when you pluck out a unnecessary part of your life and infuse that gap with a creative endeavor, or if nothing more than to enjoy a creative endeavor like reading or writing or something. It will help you, because it will help you not only to chew on these thoughts, but digest them in a way that's healthy. Because some people may look at this and it disgusts them, or it freaks them out, or it makes them feel overwhelmed. But we have to think about those things. I don't like it at times no more than anyone else. When I was talking earlier about reflecting, I was making jokes about drinking coffee. Self-reflection is scary, because you have to look at your own monsters. Because we all have them, whether they be procrastination or a lack of confidence, or too much confidence, to where we're blind to our own failings. And there's nothing wrong with being confident, but there is a point of confidence to where you feel like you don't need growth, and it will breed arrogance. There's a difference. I don't know. Goddamn, we're getting too philosophical. I know that, but I enjoy it. I like talking, Because even if no one's there to respond, I'm hearing it. And I'm not having a conversation with myself, but I'm speaking things out loud. Sometimes to hear them is important. It's like a mantra, if you would. Because sometimes you have to say that mantra to yourself to get you to believe it. There's power in the spoken word. That's why it works so well with music and TV and poetry. There's healing to be had in that. And I think at this moment I will conclude this deep dive into manifestation and insanity, and I will begin telling dick jokes now and figuring out something to do on stream besides have a micro podcast about life itself. But sure, I'll cut this out and put it on YouTube. If you're watching it this far, tell me what you'd manifest, if you could. Tell me what you're attempting to manifest now. Tell me your favorite type of art. And if I think you can share links, share them in the YouTube comments. Look on the Discord. There's places there to share your art. All the links below, if I can remember to put them. And yeah, cool. Awesome. Buy my art. Share it.